Well, I've been away for a little while. We're gonna get back going, but first, um, I need to clean some things up. Stay with us here. Okay, well, we actually took a bit of a break on this, partially because we were waiting for some parts to come in, partially because we were getting ready to go to Rockfest in Cadott, Wisconsin, which we did. We just got back on Sunday. It's now Wednesday. Kind of took a couple days of vacation after taking vacation. Um, but as you can see, everything is drug out over here and kind of just in disarray. Um, the engine is actually back in the car, or the mock up engine, I should say. We'll talk about that a little bit. That is a failed attempt at a cross member. We'll talk about that too. I'm still working on that, but we've changed directions. So, pretty much what we're going to do here on this video is I'm going to clean up. We're just going to kind of talk about what's going on. I'm going to show you a few things that we've been doing. We're going to talk about why there is no mid plate in there and why it's kind of just hiding over here right now. I'm going to put it back in, hopefully. It was just kind of in the way. We were trying to get this transmission crossmember really figured out, and actually that wasn't helpful. I thought it was going to be helpful. It wasn't. It's not a thick enough piece of metal to actually hold up that front end. It kept pulling it back, and it's actually bent now. I bent it from having the weight of the transmission on the front of it, and then it was pulling backwards. So we're hoping to be able to use it yet, but that's not a guarantee. Um, we actually took the motor mounts out. I'm actually going to cut them down. I made a few decisions at the same time that I did took out the mid plate and just kind of said, hey, you know what? I'm done fighting. We're just going to make it work. I'm not going to try and just collect pieces that might work. We're going to actually just make this stuff work. It is what it is. They're actually going to be cut down and re-welded back together by a professional welder. I just have to get them over to them. The motor, we're going to talk about the motor a bit, but first, what we're going to do is so that we can actually kind of make some sense here. I'm going to start cleaning this place up a little bit and get it back to where it needs to be, so that I can actually do some work in here. We took a bunch of time and we're working on our camper. The thing is just kind of shot. I think we got one more year left. It's a old Palomino truck bed camper. Um, so it's actually fairly nice. It's not real super heavy. It's like 1,100 pounds, and then it's got a pop up section to it, so it's not real tall. So you know you save a bit of fuel mileage. Well, we run it on a trailer in the back. We're gonna do it behind the back of the pickup truck, and then I screwed that up and tried to fix the gas tank by not putting a gas tank back in it, or like by buying a new gas tank and putting it in the vehicle. I tried to patch it with some JB Weld stuff, and then I tried some other brand of stuff, and none of it worked, and I ended up screwing it up totally. We ended up pulling that camper from our house to Cadott with my little black Cherokee, and well, that's a whole nother story too, because now those rocker arms are making noise again. So I don't know if it's different rocker arms this time or the same ones that were broken last time. I'm gonna have to tear into it again, which means I might as well just finally order those parts and get that thing done. But it pulled it just fine, no big deal. But that's what we've been doing. And why this is kind of a mess is because tools are even off the wall. We took the tools with because that way we had them just in case. My son took his 2003 Jeep Grand Cherokee with as well, so he slept in the back of that thing instead of staying in the camper with us, which is a good idea because really there's only one comfortable bed in that camper, and that one isn't really that comfortable either. So this has been just used as an area to grab tools from and move stuff around, and it it needs some work. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll get back and we'll talk about what's going on, and I'll show you kind of what happened with the transmission cross member. Actually, I can do that now. So I started taking measurements here, right? That side was a test cut for my plasma cutter. This side I used the death wheel on. I don't know how visible it is to see. If you look down this end here and you follow the line of that, you can see that this curves. So the second that I cut it, it curved. I thought it was going to be okay. I left a bunch of meat here. I don't know why this did it. So I tried it on the other side and I thought, well, I'm going to try my plasma cutter. Right? Well, that made it worse. That one there didn't curve so bad, but the one that's on the bottom, this one here, this side here, which would have been the bottom of the cross member, actually bowed right out. So I have some more pieces of that stuff over here. There's one you can see right there. I don't know where the other one went. Well, I'm apparently missing a piece. I have a third chunk that was the same size, and I don't know where it went. So we're gonna have to figure out that. That's a little disconcerting. Anyway, I ended up buying some steel pipe that's inch round. It's got a quarter wall, inch hole or half-inch hole, which where are they? I think they're still up here somewhere. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Which the hole, which should, so it's a inch round, quarter-inch thick, quarter wall, and then it's got a half-inch hole in the middle, which should be fairly close to what it needs to be for fitting that bolt in for the transmission cross member into the mount, the rubber mount up on top. I'm gonna weld those in instead of cutting it up like I did here, which I thought I did fairly well. It needed a little bit of work. We're gonna just leave it square for now, and I'm gonna put a hole in here, and then stick that quarter-inch pipe through at a right distance, and then weld it in, and that'll be the mounting place so that the bolt, whenever you put the bolt through, it doesn't crush the metal. Yeah, I mean, like lots of things have changed. This is fit. I fit this right in. We'll talk about the engine a little bit later whenever and what's changed there. There have been a few things that have changed because of, we're going to do this a little, or because of pulling that thing out and me just getting sick of fighting this. Because literally, it's now the end of July. I've been working on this since October. Remember, October 1st was the first day that I started tearing, or was it 1st? 7th. October 7th. October 1st was the day we went racing. The 7th was the day that I started tearing in the car, which was like a week later, whatever. And I'm nowhere. I've got the car tore apart. There's lots of good things I've done. I finally stopped fighting myself with the floor, but we'll get into it, and we're gonna start making that transmission crossmember, and we'll show what we're gonna do with the engine mounts. Hopefully, it won't be too terrible, and then go from there. That's the plan. It's all going to be hopefully fairly simple at this point. I'm just done like trying to make parts fit. We're just going to do what we have to do to get the job done. So, all right. Well, we'll see in a little while whenever this is all cleaned up. Somebody's been chewing on something here on my bench. I'm guessing it's a little chipmunk that keeps coming in here. Anyway, so I got the garage mostly clean. We're still working on it a little bit. I'm trying to get it a little bit better organized because now we're going to have to start washing engine parts and stuff like that. Hoping to have the engine block back here pretty quick. Checked in with the machinist about a week ago. We just got back from Rockfest in Cadott, Wisconsin, and so I checked in there and just see how things were going. And it's sitting on the line for getting put into the boring station, I guess is what you want, for honing out the cylinders. Gonna take off, I believe it's 0.005, just to try and get a little bit of a roundness back into the cylinders. He said it wasn't too bad, so this should do it. But the engines, and then they got to clean it up again after that, after they bore it out or hone it out. That crank should be done soon, all of it. Then we'll be ready to put the thing together. Where here I'm still screwing around with that, and have been for what seems like a year now, which is ridiculous. And that's probably because of my lack of experience, but that's fine. It's all learning, right? I think I've got it figured out now. I actually got all, or most of the material. I'm still waiting on a flat chunk of 1/4 inch plate to come in that I'm going to make off of the transmission crossmember so that there's a place, to bolt, and I'm going to weld it in there. Anyway, that's the last piece that we're waiting on. The other thing is we're technically going to use these, but we're not going to use them in this formation. I should have, which was an option. I could have got them cheaper if I had said, hey, yeah, don't weld them together, right? But I'm going to now take them down to the machinist, or not machinist, the welder in town, and we're going to cut this piece off to separate the bushing area. We're going to cut all of this off, and we're just going to mount the bushing straight to the plate. That's it. So then the idea is that we will take these pieces and kind of mount them down this way, down the cross member, shorten them up or whatever we got to do to it. Probably angle it this way, weld them onto the cross member, weld a piece. Let's see if I can get it. Weld a piece between the two on the top as well to keep it sturdy. That's what looks like what's going to happen now. Probably sit in there like this. I just realized I had them upside down, probably sitting here like this because of this bolt or piece here. But either way, we will be, you know, making this, taking this edge off and just kind of setting these in there as it sits. You know what I mean? So hopefully won't be doing too much screwing around to modify anything, but that seems to be the easiest way that I can figure out. I kind of made a mistake buying these. Like I said, shouldn't have welded them together. And then I spent 6 months or however long trying to make the transmission work without cutting the floor, trying to make these work, even though they're not right. So we're done doing all that. We're just going to make things uh, that fit the application that we have instead of trying to find things that may fit. It is what it is. I think that's about it. Um, oh, the engine. I'll show you what I've done with the engine, how it's sitting in there right now. I'm probably going to be putting in the mid plate here again soon after some modifications, but let's see how that thing's sitting in there. So you can see there's a couple pieces of board in there underneath the oil pan here, right? And that's because those are sitting on the cross member underneath there. We have to get out over the top of this. When I only had 1/2 inch board in there, you couldn't even get your finger in between this steering bar here and the oil pan, right? So if a motor mount went out, it was instantly going to lean on this steering bar, which I didn't think was a good idea. So we put those boards in there, and it now sits about 1 inch off of the cross member, which is, I know it's a lot, but it's about 1/2 inch or maybe a little bit more off of that steering bar, which gives us enough room that if a motor mount goes out, it shouldn't flop down on top of that steering bar, and then you got no steering. Um, what else is there? Oh yeah, I remember. That is the other thing. So that's pretty good placement of that oil pan. We might come forward with the engine just a little bit again. But right now I think we're at about, I think it's 44 inches from here at the front of the transmission to here at the front of the car, or 44 and a half or something like that. It's been a little while since I measured it. It should work out fairly decent that way. It gives us room. I moved it forward a little bit because it gives us room in between that mid plate and that section of firewall right there, because otherwise it was right up against it, and that wasn't going to work. We're going to start cleaning parts. I probably won't show that. Engine parts. We got to degrease a bunch of stuff. We're going to start working on some of this rust, right? Just getting that out of there. I may replace some of these ball joints. Um, just doing whatever we can to clean it up. We still have to repair these chunks of frame inside here on both sides. There's just a lot of things coming up that need to get done before it gets too cold out. Kind of looks like we're readjusting the schedule. We're going to be looking at a time period of February to have the car done, February 2024. We're hoping to get signed up for a sick week in Florida. That's the big goal right now. That would be great because that was, that's one of our dream events to go participate in. So that's what we're hoping for. Anyway. Okay, so we got a couple of things coming up. Looks like we're going to try and make it to the duct tape drags down in Tucson, Arizona. I'm actually trying to find a car that we can drive down there and possibly put into the burnout pit and then sell or take to a salvage yard on the way to before we come back. Our son's going to drive down, it sounds like, as well. So he's going to drive a separate car. So we'll have 2 cars going down, 1 car coming back, probably. We'll see what happens. Also, next weekend, which is what, the beginning of August, I guess, I'm going to be working on my wife's pickup truck, or my pickup truck, but my wife's the one who drives it all the time. It kind of started leaking gasoline all over the place. So I'm going to put a new gas tank in it. Not that the thing is probably worth that, but we're going to do gas tank and fuel lines and possibly the pump. I don't know if we're going to put the whole pump assembly in. That all depends on what happens. I got to get the thing out of there to look and see what's going on. I'm hoping that the assembly that's in there is good. I have a replacement, just the pump itself, to go back in there. There's a few things that need to be figured out, but we're going to be doing that next weekend, and I'm going to film that while we do that, and just, because that gets interesting. I don't know if anybody's ever done fuel lines in a car before. I hate it. It sucks. We're going to put solid lines back in because it is a winter vehicle and it is an everyday driver. I don't want to have a problem with running hose. That, and truthfully, the steel line was cheaper than running injection hose, which I have to have on that pickup truck because it runs 58 or whatever it is. I think it's 58 pounds of pressure. And carburetor line only runs 50 pounds of pressure, so that wasn't going to work for very long if it did work. So, but the like I said, the injection hose is more expensive than solid line. So we're going to put solid line in it and just use little short chunks of hose. That's all next week. We'll talk about that then. But I really appreciate you joining me here. I know nothing happened, nothing exciting. Just kind of talking about things that are going on here. I'm hoping to get back on track. Like I said, we're going to start cleaning up things and getting it ready to be painted and things like that, which is long overdue. We should have been doing that this whole time and getting it ready, but I drug my feet because I didn't want to start painting stuff and then taking paint back off. But now I'm just like, whatever, we're going to do it. It is what it is, right? So thanks for joining me. We will see you next time.